A university would like to estimate the proportion of fans who purchase concessions at the first basketball game of the season. The basketball facility has a capacity of 3,600. So 3,600 is our population. And so this is a finite population and is routinely sold out. It was discovered that a total of 300 fans out of a sample of 500 purchased concessions during the game. So we took a sample of 500. And so if you remember from your proportions, it is X out of N. So 300 out of 500 would be our proportion. All right. And then we want a 95% confidence interval to estimate the proportion of fans who purchase concessions during the game. So we're going to do a 95% confidence interval. Okay. So if we divide 500 by 3,600, you're going to get about 14%. So we have to use the finite population correction factor on this problem. I'm going to erase this now that we know we have to use that. And our confidence level is 95%. So we have our first part. Now we need to get Z. So we're going to go into Excel, and for a proportion, we can use a normal distribution. So, and we're going to do the inverse. So we need to know the probability for a 95%. What would our probability be? So if we were to draw 95%, 2.5 would be over here and 2.5 would be over here, and we need to know what Z is right here. So 95 plus 2.5 would be 97.5 as a percent. So 0.975 is the probability. So our Z value is 1.96. We round it to 2 decimal places, or 3, 1.960. So now we know that Z is 1.96. Now we need to find our standard error of our proportion. And let me see if I can get that real quick. Okay, so since we don't know our standard deviation, it's going to be the approximate standard error of the proportion. So it is the square root of the proportion times 1 minus the proportion over n. So our proportion is 0.60 times 1 minus 0.60 divided by n, which is 500. So you will get 0.0219 for the standard error of the proportion. Okay, so far we have our proportion, which we need. We have our Z, and we have our approximate standard error of our proportion. Now, moving that out of the way, we need to get We did this, we did this. Now we need to get our finite population correction factor. So we're going to do the square root of 3,600 minus 500 over 3,600 minus 1. And you're going to get 0.9281. All right, now we have everything that we need to plug in to get our confidence interval. So I'm going to erase all that, and I'm going to put it down here. So we're going to do our upper and we're going to do our lower. And it equals our proportion, which is we calculated to be 0.60. We're going to do plus and minus z, which is 1.96. And we're going to do our standard error of our proportion, which is 0.0219. And then we're going to times that. I'm going to erase this so we can have room here. That was our population correction factor, or finite population correction factor. So 0.9281. And I'm going to put all that in, and then once I get my answer, I'm going to round it to 2 decimal places. And so your confidence interval when you round is going to be we're going to round to 3 decimal places, but that won't change my answer. 0.560 and 0.640.